Got my serious shades on today, evidently. Hey guys, welcome to September 11th, 2020. My name's Tony. Every day this month, I am doing a Facebook Live while I walk 3/4 of a mile in memory of my son, Sam. September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. We lost Sam after a 4-year fight with neuroblastoma. He died on January 23rd of this year, 2020. The distance that I walk, 3/4 of a mile, represents the distance from the front door of the Ronald McDonald House in New York City to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, where Sam and I did the last of his treatments the second half of last year. Alright, we got the intro out of the way, I guess. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it. And we're like a third of the way through these things. So that's also a positive. I've been promising you guys a statistics conversation. And so I brought some of those with me today, even though I know that the statistics aren't really what helps, right? I think it's important for us to talk about some of the numbers anyway. You know, I don't connect to these numbers the way I connect to my son, and I know y'all won't either, but I think some of them are important to know. The underlying number that I think is most important in this conversation is 4%. And 4% represents the share of the national spend on cancer research that goes to pediatric cancer. 4% of all the money that goes to national cancer research goes to pediatric. And I just want you to hold that in your mind while we think of some of the other numbers, right? So the one that I think always gets to me a little bit is the impact of pediatric cancer versus some of the others. 2016, I think, the average life expectancy in the United States was 78. If you look at average life expectancy and then you compare that to the average age of onset of various types of cancer, you can come up with some vague idea of the average number of years of life that people lose to cancer. It looks like this. So, on average, this was 2016, so a little dated. The average person who came up with prostate cancer lost 10 years of life. And I think I better preface this, because anytime you start comparing things like different types of cancers, I'm not trying to say that anybody's cancer diagnosis is worse than anybody else's. You know, a lot of times I would get into a conversation with people over the last 4 years, and when you're just in a regular conversation, eventually someone's going to kind of complain about what they've got going on, and that happened all the time. And almost invariably, after venting some of their frustrations, whoever I was talking to would say, "Oh, but I can't believe that I'm complaining about this. I mean, it's nothing compared to what you've got going on." And some of these people were just ranting about their week, but others were talking about some really serious shit. Sorry, I know we probably have some kids who watch this stuff. I've been trying not to do that, but you know, I've had people who talk to me about their marriage issues, their health issues, sicknesses their own kids are going through, and pain, and even losing people. But even those people would say to me, oh, but it's nothing compared to what you guys and what you and Sam are going through, or what you and Maud have gone through since you lost him. And I always tell them the same thing, and I'll tell you guys. To me, the biggest thing that you've got going on in your life, the worst thing, it's the worst thing you got going on in your life. So how can we like compare those to one another? Yeah, over the last 4 years, the worst thing I had going on in my life was helping my son fight cancer, and then losing him at the end of that. But like, how do I compare that to, you know, the person who's lost their job? We shouldn't, right? So don't tell me that your terrible thing that has happened to you is any easier than mine. Like, you're still going through the hardest moment of your life, right? Anyway, I say that because I'm not trying to say that someone who loses 10 years to prostate cancer is any better off than a kid who loses more than that to pediatric cancer. I'm gonna go back to these numbers, right? The average years lost life to colon and rectal cancer, 15 years, lung and bronchial cancers, 15 years, melanoma, 15 years, breast cancer, 18 years. The average years of life lost to childhood cancers, 68.3 years. And again, I'm not trying to compare those numbers to one another. Losing 18 or 20 years of life is as bad as losing 68 years of life. But what bothers me is the way that those numbers are reflected in the cancer spending budget, right? There's just not, 4% is just not enough. Let's talk about specifically kids' cancer stats. It's my other sheet. This is one that Alex's Lemonade Stand has on their website. So every year, there's an estimated 300,000 or more new cancer cases around the world. That's 800 kids per day. In the United States, it's about 43 kids per day. So that's almost 2 an hour. That's almost 2 sets of parents per hour that have to sit in the little room that we sat in. Still hopeful at this point, by the way, because they're new to this. They're still hopeful that that doc is going to come in and say, hey, you know what? Turns out we got in there. It was benign. Just a cyst. They're still hopeful that the type of cancer is one that has a high success rate, a high cure rate. And for some of them, the doctor's going to come in and he's going to have a very, very serious face. And he's going to explain to them that it's not benign, it's malignant. It's not in an easily operable place. He's going to come in and tell them it's neuroblastoma, it's rhabdomyosarcoma, it's leukemia. And their entire life is about to change. They don't even know it yet. That's probably, I don't know, their stomachs have dropped out all of a sudden a couple times before. Like the first time they saw the weird tumor on the x-ray or the monitor, like the thing that wasn't supposed to be there, they didn't know it was a tumor yet, probably. And then when the doctors told them, hey, this is probably cancer and we need to go in and look at it and biopsy it and see what it is. So they had to send their kid back, sit with them while they were being sedated, for them it's a new thing. I forget about sedation for new families and how scary it is for those kids. A lot of times they fight it. They're scared of the mask, so they don't want to use the gas. So they have to get an injection through the IV. It's scary to watch your kid get put to sleep. $43 every day. What else? What do we have? We got, that's 1 in every 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer by the time they're 20 years old. They use some set definitions, I think, when they talk about childhood cancer. And the numbers I've seen are ages 1 to 19. And then it's interesting, the survival rate that they use, or the time. If you survive for 5 years after your initial diagnosis, you're considered a pediatric cancer survivor. Which, I'm sure there's some logic behind that, but to me it's always seemed a little bit dumb. Just because these kids, they go through remissions, reoccurrences, they go through secondary cancers caused by the treatments, they go through lung issues. Like, if Sam had made it through this and later came up with some other carcinoma or some other cancer as a side effect for the treatment, like, I don't know, I don't buy that he's a pediatric cancer survivor. I saw an interesting conversation. My Facebook feed is full of this stuff this time of year, because we made a lot of friends over the years, and somebody made a good point the other day. They said, you know, once you get that diagnosis, that pediatric cancer diagnosis, your fight starts. But no matter what happens, for a lot of these kids, that fight lasts the rest of their life, whether that's short like Sam's was or not. Because even if you beat the first thing, you're still going through scans for the rest of your life, watching, waiting. It's always in the back of your mind, I gotta imagine. At least that's what I hear from these parents. I know for us, you know, when Sam had his longest remission, which was about 18 months, 18 months is just long enough to start to think that you made it. To start to think that you won and you beat it. I know we were cautious about thinking that way for the first year. Of that remission. And, like, honestly, trying not to get our hopes up. And then right as life became normal again, the rug was pulled right back out from underneath us. So, anyway, how y'all doing? I don't usually pass within 6 feet of anybody, so I never bring my mask with me. Now I feel bad. He put his on. What a world we live in. I feel like some of these organizations need some extra support right now too, because a lot of them have been going through some crazy changes. I know for a while they had to close the Ronald McDonald House there in New York City as COVID ran through it. And there's an organization that put up those patients, I think at the Ramada Inn right there. This is heavy. This is heavy and it's boring. The numbers are boring. Of all the walks I've had with you guys, I've never been bored until right now. So let's talk fundraising. Reminder, Volvo is matching donations that are made starting yesterday, today, the 12th and the 13th. So I guess that's through Sunday. I think that it said 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, but I'm not 100% sure. So share this. I know y'all have all given already. So share it. Maybe don't share this one. Share the ones that are actually a little bit more engaging. I looked this morning, guys. We've raised $7,200 for Alex's Lemonade Stand over the last 10 days. Y'all are ridiculous. That's impressive. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. I was talking to Maud, and I think that our hope is that as long as we can continue to just pull in like any donation once a day, I think that's everybody we know gave in the beginning, right? And so it's hard to expect more than that. Well, we don't expect it, right? We're already well over what we expect, but the only way that we can continue to do this is to keep pulling in more and more people from the outside. So I've said this before, and if you've watched 10 of these before this one, God bless you. God bless you. If this is your first one, watch the next one. It'll be better. Or go back and watch, if you haven't seen the one where I talk from beginning to end about Sam's story and what happened, watch that one. Share that one. Every single one of these has a link to the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation fundraiser page that we're doing right next to it. I've noticed on some of these, the links are getting broken when they try to share them. That's okay. The link is always next to the original video if you need to find it. But yeah, just keep sharing it and spreading the word. All I'm trying to do is make it so that these families that are going through this have maybe one fewer steps that they have to deal with. Maybe someday we can get it to where there's a cancer treatment that's, slightly less toxic or one fewer side effects. Maybe something where we don't have to put the kid on a narcotic pain pump. I had a headache this morning, and it got me to thinking about Sam hollering and just holding and clutching his head. Sometimes that was from the tumor and the growth, but that's not what I was thinking of. It was the times where he was screaming, my head, my head, my head. It was a side effect of the narcotic pain medications that he was on. He would get really bad headaches from pain relievers, from pain medication. I mean, I think about some of the stuff that he was on. Like, there was one treatment where he was on a morphine drip. That wasn't working out well enough, so we switched him to a Dilaudid drip. If you're one of the nurses and you can remind me of the concentrations of morphine and Dilaudid, if I remember correctly, Dilaudid is like a synthetic morphine that's a factor more potent. Somewhere I saw the deadly overdose amounts of these various drugs, and the amount of Dilaudid that it would take to have a deadly overdose is ridiculously small. And we pumped it into him 24 hours a day for weeks at a time because it was better than not, right? That was the option. One of the numbers I was trying to find that I wasn't able to was the number of new cancer drugs for pediatric cancer over the last 20-30 years versus others, there's just not a lot of, I don't think there's a ton of forward momentum. There's some really, there are some new and exciting procedures, I think, but a lot of it hasn't changed in a long time. So that's one of the reasons we like to give money to Alex's Lemonade Stand this go around, is because they're doing research grants and they're also supporting those frontline families, and I think those are kind of the two main areas that need the most help. So guys, we really appreciate you being with us on this journey. Definitely always open for any questions or comments that you guys want to make. If there's things that you'd like to address or like me to address on the walk, let me know. I'm an open book, and it'll help keep it interesting for everybody. So thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.